Yo, what's up gang? It's Stuck on Pandora here. Recovering from a beginning of the year flu bug that has been vanquished, I think. We're on the up and up now. So, we're going to be kicking some butt for this new year. And let's start it off right by digging into the ranked previews meta. And the way we're going to cover this is by doing some commentary here on the best match of Incursion I've played to date. So, as per usual in these ranked previews commentary, we're going to talk about the nuance, the exciting elements, and the competitive elements, while also in this commentary specifically discussing the meta for Battleborn. And, well, with meta, come on, meta bro, meta, how often do you hear meta these days? It's a game gets released and within 12 hours someone has made a guide online explaining the meta, how it's broken or how to break it. I'm going to explain in Battleborn and most other games really, a meta is a much more, it's much more than unbalanced builds or gears, in my opinion. It tends to be in the player decision and in the player's actions that really defines a meta of what the game is. It's something more nuanced. I have some bonus footage for you guys at the end of this video that I think define why I think that the gear or the build videos are beyond meta, and really what I think we're coming to when we talk about these build guides or gear guides happen after a game and people call that meta. At that point you're just reaching concept. You're reaching what is the most effective thing in the entire game, but it doesn't go beyond the concept of the game.
Was that really your best?
So the first step in understanding meta is to understand what the word means, which is beyond. When people say metaphysics, bro, they're describing what they believe is to be beyond the conventional knowledge within the laws of physics. So meta is beyond convention of genre, which is just a funny word for generic. If a guide is made saying Galilei, Umbra, Shannon Oryx, Benedict, and Oscar Mike are the meta, they're close. Those are probably that's probably one of the best team compositions out there right now, but they're not quite there yet. What is being described, in my opinion, is also inherently generic. Yes, you're playing the game at its peak for the generic form of the game. Another example is like in the Division's early days, SMGs and crit damage and crit chance and SMG damage, that build defined the genre. But someone running that same build with a marksman rifle, self-heal, and a high-tech skill would have gone beyond the genre. Okay, so it is with Battleborn, except much deeper. And Battleborn, like League or Dota, is able to define its meta beyond composition or builds. It's into how teams dictate their actions. The point of this being, if you're going to play the meta, you had better know the generic first. So I'm going to give you my definition for generic in Battleborn. It's what I call the battle algorithm. I've worked on it for a little while, and it's as simple as attack or defend. I've covered this in previous videos. I think our 3v5 ranked previews, I talk about the battle algorithm. But in this video, I'll cover it in detail, and you'll be able to use it here. There's a concept beyond meta. I also think Spiritus Monday, Grit, whatever you want to call it. It's the kind of thing that comes out when players in any capacity of any competitive event simply have instructive knowledge of the game, the will to win. You can see this in Scrabble, you can see this in LeBron James or Michael Jordan in basketball, and yes, you can see it in Battleborn. In video games, this can only be seen in robust, well-designed games, and it happens at the end of this video, actually. But the sort of Spiritus Monday I'm describing, which goes beyond genre, goes beyond meta, it's just the will to win. When both teams have got a lot of experience and a lot of instincts for the game, and the game is deep enough to facilitate these kinds of things. In Battleborn's early days of development, the designers actually had what was called the pip system behind all Battleborn, and the pip system put tangible stats into each class: 2 health, 3 power, 4 speed, 2 range. Now, I'm not sure why this was gotten rid of. It still exists, though. It's not often discussed in Battleborn's agility. In their health, it's honestly all still there. You just can't actually see it. Maps are designed with jumping in mind, for instance, from tier 1 to tier 3 jumps. The most transparent example of this is in the map Outskirts and Meltdown. near your home base, there's all 3 styles of jumps there. There's tier 1, tier 2, and tier 3. Namely, that polygon right in front of the thumper turret in your base is actually a tier 2 jump. Now this is important because we have to define the characteristics of Battleborn in order to take the first step in the battle algorithm, which is team composition. Battleborn went away from this pip system, which would have made team composition really easy to define, and instead went for this 3 branching system. For instance, Toby is adorable, he's territorial, he's advanced. Okay, we can get territorial. I guess he has like AoE effects, right? He can hold down a territory. That's how I would define it. I suppose we can guess that advanced means there's a learning curve, but how in any way does adorable affect his performance? And that's an issue in Battleborn. It's an issue with the learning curve of new players, and 3, adorable doesn't mean anything, and it doesn't help you define your team composition. So Battleborn lists all heroes into 3 tiers of difficulty: easy, advanced, complex, which don't in any way affect their stats. And they're not good indicators of how they play. Cleese might be complex for some people, but some people completely get Cleese the first time they play him. So that generic definition doesn't necessarily help people build good team compositions. They then define Battleborn rules into versatile, mobile, tank, territorial, agile, combat, controller, brawler, and adorable. Okay, you know, I kind of can get some of them. Tank, of course, is generic. Agile, sort of broad. Controller, no idea. Brawler, they punch, but you can see this sometimes on like shooters. Then they further this with a subset of adjectives, which I think are supposed to go into the roles. Like, subset of the role is these healer, pusher, brawler, skirmisher, disruptor, sniper, assassin, healer, initiator, skirmisher, versatile, assassin, shielder. Yeah. So, okay, especially if you're a new player, he's adorable. He's a sniper, and he's got territorial skills. I don't know what this means. So while none of those descriptions are inherently wrong, indeed, Montana, played at his best, is an initiator, a media character with an aggressive assault and escape dropkick, who can apply a CC, who can set up assassins like Melka or snipers like Thorn to generate a kill and get Montana his escape. But the reality of gameplay is that 90 times out of 100, these characters are not played this way. And the system is opaque to all but its crusty old pros. Yes, crusty old pros understand that Montana probably won't get many KOs, but he's really good at disrupting enemy lines and initiating combat and setting up a target to get pulled. But new players who are saying like, oh, what's the meta, bro? What's the meta on character decisions don't understand that you could finish a match of Battleborn and go 0-10 and still have been completely crucial to the win. And it's also a fault with the game's scoring system that they aren't rewarding you. You might be a Miko who goes 0-15, but we're absolutely critical in dropping both sentries. Okay, so Battleborn is this combination of PvE battlegrounds into a PvP arena with objective-based combat. So you might not be a super PvP player, or you might be playing a role at which you know you're not going to excel at PvP, but be really good at ad clear, be really good at getting thralls, and your role is crucial. Now, when you call players adorable or versatile or agile, it doesn't necessarily help you understand that. So here's my concept for characters, which is the first step in the battle algorithm. They're either DPS, support, or objective, and usually a combination of either one or two of those things. Will never be all 3. Okay, so DPS Battleborn are those that specialize in wave clear, killing of enemy Battleborn. Benedict is a DPS Battleborn. Phoebe, Wrath are DPS Battleborn, or Rendi. Each requires their own style in order to deliver on their inherent DPS. Like Wrath should bait people behind corners, or Rendi should disorient the enemy and stop escapes through spellcasting. Benedict should be aggressive and just clobber people with his big burst damage. Regardless, it doesn't change the fact that certain characters have a easier time getting kills against enemy Battleborn and clearing waves out. And killing enemy Battleborn is a crucial step in the battle algorithm. So understand who are your DPS players. If you know that Wrath is really good at killing enemy Battleborn, don't be upset when Wrath gets a lot of kills. Help Wrath get a lot of kills. And with Benedict, the exact same thing. Know that, hey, these guys can clear your waves for you. They can kill enemy Battleborn. If you want to win the match, which is based upon the objective, not your KO or your KD, then you want to facilitate these types of Battleborn into your composition. Alright, then there's support Battleborn, and I define support Battleborn by they either generate boons to the battlefield, such as priority marks, or Alani being able to put down the wave, or Umbra sunspots, things like this, or they heal Battleborn. That's the number one thing. Miko, Umbra, Alani, Reyna, they all heal people, or they supply a safe retreat area, again, through boons in the battlefield. So Reyna can make sure that your Kelvin or something can get out of the enemy lines because you know you got a shield a little bit behind you. Or Alani's great for that. They hold a front line together through boons on the battlefield or healing. Okay, and then objective-based Battleborn. Almost all Battleborn are objective-based, but you're going to either be a hybrid of the DPS or a hybrid of the support. So these Battleborn are inherently hybrids. They make up the majority of heroes. There's only very few just plain old support Battleborn or plain old DPS Battleborn. But you understand that they're in a subset. Are they really good? Are they primarily good at support? Are they primarily good at DPS? So Montana is an objective-based Battleborn. He has a CC. He has a knockback, or he has a stun, however you want to play it. He has a role to play. Objective-based Battleborn are the grouping of all specialists into one category. Your Toby should get thralls. Your Oscar Mike should get rid of buildables. Bomb the sentry. Your Boulder should be applying CC and creating a front line, while DPS Battleborn build their gear and levels to generate a push, etc. This category may seem broad, but it's as simple as this question. Does this Battleborn have one of three things going for her? Does it have a CC effect? Does this Battleborn have a CC effect such as Curse, Stun, or Slow? Does the character have a larger than normal health pool with regenerative effects? So Kelvin, why is he an objective? He's actually pure objective-based Battleborn because he has a CC and he has a large health pool so he can be a tank. And does this character have the ability to disrupt enemy movements through AoE effects, reveals, or higher than average agility? Melka is a support Battleborn because she has higher than average agility, and she also has a CC effect that has an AoE, her poison, that can disrupt the enemy's movements or their front line. So, an example here, in case it's not totally clear, why would I define Galt as not a pure DPS character? His character has an average base health with a huge model, and his specialty is CC. A Galt can get a load of kills, no doubt about it, but a great Galt hangs with a Reyna or Umbra just behind the front line and generates a clutch pull on an enemy, at which point generates a KO and changes the battle algorithm. So Galt, huge damage, yeah, but kind of easy to kill and can generate a pull, which is going to facilitate a DPS Battleborn like Benedict or like Arendi to get a kill. Alright, now we're going to simplify this whole thing with a flowchart. If this seems complex, check out a generic, modern military flowchart. No, WOA. It's pretty complex, and ours is not at all. It's just going to be a hierarchy of decisions based upon whether you should attack at the time or defend at the time. Because an incursion match, a meltdown match, honestly, it's all about ebb and flow. Okay, the battle algorithm isn't a flowchart, it's more of a hierarchy of decisions, where you're saying yes or no, and that's going to give you whether you're on the ebb part, you're on the defensive part of an incursion match, or you're on the flow part, the attack part of an incursion match. It's meant to be flexible based upon what's the calculus of the battle you're currently in. Is there damage on your sentry? Are you way behind? You have enemy Battleborn out of the match. You have to be flexible with it, going to the nuance, but almost always it will demand a yes or no answer. It will always demand a yes or no answer, and you can get a good idea of what you should be doing at that time. First step in the battle algorithm is checking your team composition. Here's how I would define our team compositions. Kelvin, he's objective. Specifically, he applies CC and he maintains map position because he has a higher than average health pool and he also has CC effects. Oscar Mike, he's one of these hybrids. Most Battleborn are hybrids. He's a DPS objective. He can clear waves, he can get thralls, and he can apply burst DPS towards getting critical KOs. You also should use his invisible. You should use his accessory skills, his CC skills, to apply a backdoor and get rid of enemy buildables or attack the sentry. Galilea, DPS objective. She's a hybrid. She has been a troublesome hybrid since the beginning of the game. She uses a substantial health pool and CC effects to generate forward momentum from front line. Alani, she's a hybrid. Support objective. Prioritize healing of Kelvin and Galilei to maintain and accelerate the front line. Use CC effects to generate team fire on critical KOs. big part of the battle algorithm is knowing your team comp so that you know which enemy Battleborn to pull or to get out of position so that your team can fire. Team firing is crucial in Battleborn. Do not look at your KD if you're playing this game at a high level. Just look at how many kills as a team you're generating. When you see kills, you should think always that's the team's kills. Alright, Melka, she's objective. I wouldn't even put her as DPS, I wouldn't put her as support. She's just one of these objective Battleborn. She has higher than average agility, and she has a lot of CC effects. She should be, her first priority is helping us say yes to, does your team have the ability to burst down a KO? Because if she can go and get that last third of somebody's health, then that answer is yes. We know our Melka's going to finish them. Or she should be disrupting the enemy lines through applying AoE effects. Now you want to check your composition against their composition, and this is important because at any given time you need to know who is the highest priority target that you're playing against, who's going to be that critical pull, that critical KO, and what is their potential? What does their potential look like on the battle algorithm? How quickly can they say yes to the 3 categories that lend to attacking? Now, they might do something, though, that's beyond concept, something I would define as the meta. So, if they're running a Kelvin and a Phoebe combo that hardly anybody played, but some people mastered early on, that's pairing an objective and a DPS character to create an assault unit, and that's meta. They've now gone beyond the generic, can you quickly get a kill, to, yes, because we have this twofold team composition that can run through enemies. And we say meta because they're able to jump questions in the hierarchy. Instead of worrying about wave clear, or instead of worrying about do you have your gear up, they can jump all the way to quick KO because they know that they have, it's like the Blitzkrieg duo. We know we can skip the first 2 segments of the battle algorithm and go straight to KOs because of the team composition we're running, and that's meta. We're able to skip parts of the concepts. So what do they got? They got Deondi, who's objective, just like Melka, get behind enemy lines and disrupt. Prevent targets who are nearly KO'd from escaping. Phoebe, DPS objective. She's a mix of wave clear and frontline DPS, the ability to flank so long as she is within reach of her teammates who are offering support. So you would want a support behind Phoebe. You'd want one of those supports who can generate a good retreat area, like Umbra having sunspots, and also with her slams you can knock people back. They got Oscar and Mike, same as us, you know, lots of DPS, use stealth to disrupt us. They got Galea, the ultimate hybrid of DPS and objective. You CC in tandem with a support to pick off enemies. She also has a substantial health pool to maintain forward-facing front line. Now we move beyond composition into the first segment. First question you have to ask yourself in the battle algorithm on whether you should be attacking or defending. Can you wave clear effectively? Wave clear has always been a key element, but after the October patch, it's never been more key. This opening process of dismantling the first enemy wave is a twofold victory. One, it should be pushing the levels on your Chemo's killer. So in this match, in our case, it should be Galilea or Oscar Mike. We know they're DPS, we know they're objective, they're really strong hybrids. They can offer that burst damage that we need to KO Battleborn. They can also offer that CC to get enemies out of position. Or in Oscar Mike's case, he can go and fulfill the objective. So it's about getting these players, these high DPS or high objective players, at key levels. Are you somebody, it can be a whiskey even, you know, if you're somebody who's really good at whiskey or really good at Toby, your team should know this, and they should know if we get Toby to level 5, we have a death machine on our hands. So you're getting wave clear, you're good at wave clear, because if you're good at wave clear, you can level up your most important people. Now a note on wave clear as the battle algorithm, as the first question. There is, beyond genre, alright, beyond the meta of can you clear waves well, then there is really the beyond here, and that is a wrench build, for instance. Are you somebody who knows exactly when your character gets good? So you can run a 0 activation cost shard generator, and you can run a 0 activation cost wrench, and you can run and you can get to level 5 within the first 3 minutes of the match, and you can completely dominate because you jump, and you jump elements in the hierarchy. We don't need to worry about wave clear, and we don't need to worry about are we hitting key levels. We already know we can KO because we have a whiskey that kicks ass, and he's already level 5 because he's running this meta concept of a shard generator and buildables. Alright, so if you can answer the question, what is my team composition? What do they specialize in? Who is my most important Battleborn? And then you're also able to, it's like a test. If you know you're correct on defining your team composition, you're going to clear minion waves very effectively, because you're going to know where everybody needs to kind of play out. Then you need to say, who is going to be our leader here? Who is going to be the person who really, as a Battleborn, does the heavy lifting? In this case, in this match, Oscar Mike wasn't in our party, so Galilei should be our star. High DPS, high objective-based Battleborn. And this means you as a team kind of need to sacrifice. Allow Galilea to get the shards. Allow Galilea to do the buildables. Allow Galilea to get the kill shots on the minion waves so that you can start building these levels. Now, the most generic way of knowing you've gotten key levels on your most important Battleborn, so you can move to the next step in the hierarchy, is bring them to their ultimate. By then, almost all Battleborn are versatile and deadly and fleshed out once they have their ultimate. They have a nice subset of skills, and you can use these. Now, this always should be your Battleborn who is going to help you get to the next step in the hierarchy, which is being able to KO the enemy Battleborn effectively. A note of warning before entering stage 2. There isn't a gray area in these answers. If your team gets a pull or produces a CC effect, a stun on somebody, and you're not effectively team firing them, so your communication's not there, or you are team firing, you are working well as a unit, but you don't have the DPS currently to do enough burst to get a KO, then you're not at the next step. If your team is still struggling to clear out the last few minions and being backed up on wave clear, you're not ready to attack yet. If you can't even clear minions, you are not at all ready to go to their sentry. You have to be able to clear the minions, and you have to be able to kill enemy Battleborn. One enemy Battleborn at a time. So you need, if you're not at that step, then it's time to go have your key players, your Miko, Galilea, Blitzkrieg duo, or your Phoebe, Kelvin, Umbra combo. Have them go build levels with minions and buildables. Have them go get their gear. A few moments spent early in a match doing shard runs, building levels on minion waves, is the fulcrum that decimates enemy teams later. If your team can't effectively KO an enemy Battleborn when team fired upon, or even one DPS being given a CC into a burst of their damage, then useful gear is now prioritized on the players who need it for their build. Just a piece here or there. We're not talking about the ability to, get all 3 pieces of your legendary gear up, but the little things that are going to help you most effectively generate this push. Maybe your DPS player needs one more piece of gear. Maybe he needs that thing that gives him the slow, or maybe Boots of the Brood on Galilea. Or most likely it's going to be an accessory player, because you focus so much on building up your star, your really effective Battleborn who, when put in a team composition that syncs around them, take off. Well, in my case, Alani. My Alani should get my Muckluck boots, because Alani's kind of slow and she needs that heal power. So that's going to skyrocket her. And usually skyrocketing that one accessory player with one good piece of gear around your star Battleborn is now going to be that extra oomph to generate the assault. If you've said yes to all 3 of these questions, that your team can effectively clear waves, that it is effectively leveled, and it can effectively kill enemy Battleborn when the potential or the opportunity reveals itself, then it's time to go push with the thralls. Grab a fat bot, grab the thrall. Hopefully mid thralls are available. You might be so far ahead, you might be so skilled that mid thralls haven't even spawned yet. And then have your objective Battleborn move on the front line to right outside of a sentry, or if you have Boulder and Kelvin, be right on top of the sentry. But don't be stupid. Have you destroyed their buildables? Have you gotten a critical knockout? If the buildables are gone and you've brought a full mob wave with you, then the sentry will focus on the mob. But observe, go back to the composition part of the algorithm. Ask yourself the question again: which enemy Battleborn currently repelling this attack is the most important to kill? Montana by himself is a chump here. He can do some burst, he can move in, but otherwise, if you have the ability to KO enemy Battleborn, critical that you say yes to that before you moved in the first place, then you're going to melt him. But completely different is a Montana with a Benedict on his shoulder and a Miko in his pocket. Different game. And that's when your objective Battleborn, in this case Oscar, Mike, or Melka, should be disrupting these guys on the push. And then killing whoever needs to be killed first. So that's, it's Miko, it's Benedict, and then it's Montana. And getting those crucial KOs. The minion wave will probably completely melt the sentry. It's your job to make sure that the enemy Battleborn are not able to repel your attack, and that's going to be through knowing that you answered yes on number 3 correctly. Are you able to do the CC, the stuns, and the team fire necessary to kill the Battleborn, enemy Battleborn? At this point, with all 3 steps completed, your team should have sealed an objective. A sentry should be destroyed. That may seem complex, but it is happening by instinct in an incursion match all the time. There's just 3 questions that you may or may not be asking yourself that really generate whether you're at the ebb or the flow part of a match, whether you should be attacking or defending. Do you destroy the waves easily? If as soon as a minion wave spawns, you're able as a team to completely melt it down, then yes, you destroy waves easily. But if you're getting backed up every time there's a shepherd who puts an overshield out, or minions are getting all the way to your sentry every time, no, you're not yet at the point that you destroy waves easily. You should still be on the ebb part of the match. Are key Battleborn in your team composition built to the point of effectiveness? Do they have the right pieces of gear that are going to accelerate them or accelerate the Battleborn around them? If it's Eldragon, you know that level 3, level 4 is still pretty useless, but you know that Benedict is the exact opposite. And then finally, can your team organize effective team fires and produce knockouts when the enemy team is out of position or the opportunity presents itself? Which with Battleborn with high time to kill, you do need to either produce or see opportunity in order to get kills. If you're a team that Galt gets a pull or Miko produces CC and nobody team fires on that person, because that's an easy kill if you team fire on anybody who gets CC'd, then you're not at key effectiveness that's going to support you being able to win in the meta. So if you do say yes to all 3, if say your Alani gets somebody in a bubble and the entire team completely nails her, and then your Melka or your Caldarius is able to finish that person, then go get the Thralls. Go get the Fatbot. Move with the minion wave, hopefully get a Shepherd and Overshield, and move that entire powerful unit to the objective. And you're pretty well guaranteed the sentry is going to be destroyed at that point. You know you can kill people, you know you can kill any sort of defense that they have, you know that your team, you know exactly where its offensive and its defensive strengths are. You have the utility, you now have the power to just do it. So you always just ask yourself that hierarchy of questions. You know, what really does each Battleborn in this team composition do well? Which of these Battleborn should the team work with to highlight so as to maximize their DPS? If you have Benny, you know, why don't we pull on a Miko with a Solar Sustainer? Or why don't we put a Reyna or a Kid Ultra in there? Which of the enemy Battleborn will be the most disruptive to the team's completion of objective? If you know that you're going against a Miko and a Galilea and they're running the Blitzkrieg duo, or you know that you got a enemy Kid Ultra who's running with a Benedict and an Umbra, know which people you need to kill, because killing the right people at the right time completely can shatter enemy team composition. And honestly, if you want to simplify this even more, if that alone seems complex, in order to know if your team is effectively following the meta, is how well can you guys clear minion waves, especially later in the match. If you guys are struggling on minion wave clears, then you don't have a good composition. You've already failed the first part of the test. And if you can't kill minions, you certainly you certainly don't have effective key Battleborn, because effective key Battleborn, when played with accessory characters, can melt a minion wave. And 3, you definitely are not going to be able to get those kills quickly that are necessary for fast incursion wins. Now, let's move into a commentary of this match to see where the decisions were flawed or correct. And also at the end, something that goes beyond the concept of what I'd call the meta. Why there is a meta, but it's not what you think, and 2 things that go beyond the concept of meta. Okay, so here we are beyond the concept of meta, and I saved it until the very end of the match because it's hard to talk about meta if you don't really understand at least what my definition of the meta is. And this is where we go into Spiritus Monday. Look at the CC by Takeda. Was that not pretty? And it's because he's an objective-based Battleborn. He knows that CC is his thing. He knows that he has a larger than average health pool, so he can charge that front line. This is a match that was so back and forth, so stinking competitive, and we're playing this awesome team. And here at the end of the match, this is what I'm talking about, Spiritus Monday, we get a quad. There isn't any surrendering, there isn't any quitting by either side of the team. It was just pure all-in-all effort by both fronts. And knowing what your team can produce and how and when it can produce it leads to so much. I mean, my team's moving up, we don't really have the movement speed. My Mucklucks are the thing guiding me here up forward. But even up until the bloody end, look out, 40 seconds left, but we're there. We're at the sentry. And in any other, if we're talking about meta, this is when matches like this occur, because if you're just If you're not experienced, if you're not a crusty old pro like I talked about, then the two teams don't produce these things. Usually there's a freaking surrender. But in two experienced teams, you get to a point where in the last 20 seconds of a match, all right, Phoebe, DPS, objective, she completely slaughtered us there on that front line because we didn't have the health. It wasn't a successful push, right? Look where we were in the battle algorithm. Could we probably even effectively clear minions at that point? No. Could we effectively kill enemy Battleborn at that point? Yes, but only in a context of getting the CC because they were so leveled. And did we get the thralls and the minions in order to make a big push? No. But we did not quit, and that's the awesome part of this, and that's why I say Spiritus Monday, because we got a quad. In any other match, it's over, let's surrender, we're done. But both teams were so experienced, and that's the nuance of Battleborn. It's what makes Battleborn special when you watch a match like this and realize that there's actually that depth.